Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining today. And we wanted to continue with the abodes of the Lord and of the living entities as well. So we've covered as much as we can with our limited knowledge and our lack of knowledge. Golok, Vrindavan, Ayodhya, Vaikuntha. So now we wanted to look at the effulgence of the Lord, the Brahman, the Brahmajyoti, or the Brahman, the effulgence of the Lord. What is that all about? So, the effulgence of the Lord is also known as Brahman, but it's not to be confused with Lord Brahma. So this is often, when we go to schools, they often talk about Brahman or Brahma, but it's difficult to know exactly what they want about. When they refer to Brahman, they are actually referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they're not aware of the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence of the Lord. So that is interchangeable in the schools. Brahman and the Lord, one and the same thing. But sometimes when they look at the creation story, then they talk about Lord Brahma. And then that's, again, very easy to confuse because these names are so similar. So we should be clear ourselves. What is Brahman? According to the Srimad Bhagavad Puran and the Brahma Samhita, Brahman is the effulgence that comes off the Lord from his beautifully shining body. And it is not the Lord. It is one of the aspects of the Lord. There are three aspects to the absolute truth. One of them is Brahman, and we'll look at the other two in a few minutes. So those spiritualists who believe that God has no form, and this "and" is important, have a desire to be God, can attain this part of the spiritual world. There are many who believe that God has no form, because that limits God. And that's a valid point. Why should we limit God? But the point of view from the Vedic scriptures, we're not, by saying that God has a form, we're not limiting him, because his form is unlimited. But there are spiritualists, and the Islamic faith, for example, they believe God has no form, because we would be limiting him if he had a form. And there is some sense to what that point, because we shouldn't limit the Lord. But from the Vedic point of view, just because we are saying God has a form doesn't limit him, because his form is unlimited. He has so many different forms. Even his form as Krishna in itself is totally unlimited. So, okay. But just because somebody believes that God has no form doesn't necessarily mean that they aspire to go to the Brahmajyoti. They may get that as their destination because maybe their worship is in the form of, meditation on some light or something like that. But it's not necessarily the case that they will attain the Brahmajyoti. But one who has a desire to be God, who wants to become God, then they may well attain the Brahmajyoti. And we'll see a little later that that's not necessarily a good thing. So this is in the Golok chart. This is the Brahmajyoti, where it's beyond the material world, beyond the Viraja river. It pervades the spiritual world because it's the effulgence of the Lord, but it does not enter into the material world. It's stopped by the Viraja river, by the border, by the layers of the universe. So this is not a desirable position. To attain the Brahmajyoti is really not a good place to be, even though it is part of the Supreme Lord. It is part of the absolute truth. But devotees don't aspire for this. Why? Because we are individual souls, eternally, as described in the 2nd chapter, 12th verse. Does anybody know that verse? The 12th verse of the 2nd chapter, where Krishna describes how we are all individual. Anybody remember that? English or Sanskrit? I think it goes like this. Natvevaham.
Roger, can you wait for me? I am thinking.
Okay. I'll give you a hint. Natvevaham jatunasam.
Natvevaham natvam janadipa nachainam kledayancha.
Nachaiva
Nabhavishyama sarve vayamataparam.
Excellent. Do you remember the English? Do you remember?
Never was that. I did not exist. No you, no all these kings. No in the future, any of us cease to be, something like that.
Never was a time when I did not exist. Nor you, nor all these kings before us. Never, and no shall we in the future cease to exist. Yeah. So that is basically Krishna's describing the eternity of the soul and himself and everybody else. And we are a minority situated in this material world. We're a small minority. The vast majority of living entities live in the spiritual world with the Lord. But we are like in the hospital. In every village, in every town, there will be hospital where those who are sick live there. So we are sick. Our disease, we've forgotten God. And only a few people live in the hospital. So we're in this hospital where few souls, of course, billions of souls, trillions of souls. But even then, it's still a minority. And we are in this hospital because we're diseased. Our disease, forgotten God. Cure is very easy, to remember God. And we go back again to the spiritual kingdom. Originally, we were from the spiritual world, where we had an individual spiritual relationship with the Lord. And most souls live in the spiritual world. However, due to envy, what was that envy? We were perhaps a little bit desirous of the Lord's position. We decided to become separate from the Lord. Therefore, the Lord facilitated that desire. As we know, he fulfills all desires, whether they're good or bad, he'll fulfill it. Thus, he created a world where we can try to become the Lord, lord it over material nature. So this is one of the purposes of this material world. But this world is perfectly imperfect. And the soul is always frustrated due to the samsara, the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So no matter how much we have in terms of possessions, that includes mental happiness, mental satisfaction, it's never going to be enough, because there's something called death. Everything changes at the time of death. So we are in this world which is perfectly imperfect, which means that no matter how hard we try, although our nature is to be always happy, we can never be happy in this world, because by its very nature, it's temporary. The effects are always temporary in this world. But we are eternal beings. If we re-establish our eternal relationship with the Lord, then we can return to our original position again. And how can we re-establish our relationship in this age of Kali Yuga? The easiest way is to chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which we have been very kindly gifted by spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. However, Some spiritualists want to get out of this material world, but have no knowledge of the personal form of the Lord, or Bhakti Yoga, or they want to become God or merge with God. And that's where they end up, in this Brahmajyoti. So let's have a little bit more analysis of what are the three aspects of God, the three aspects of the absolute truth, right? So Brahman, we talked about. This is the impersonal, pervasive spirit, sunshine. Just like the example is the sunshine. The next aspect of God is the Paramatma. And Paramatma, as we know, is a localized aspect in everyone's heart. So living in everyone's heart. That's described to be, in this material world, the analogy is the sun's surface. So Brahman is the sunshine. The surface of the sun is Paramatma. And finally, the third aspect, the most important aspect, is Bhagavan, the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. And that's described in the analogy of the sun to be the sun planet. And Bhagavan is the absolute truth.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes. The Brahman, when it says the sunshine, that's what confused me. I thought it was this sunshine that we see.
Yes, it's only an example. It's only an example to understand, visualize what Brahman means. It's
it's just an understanding. Okay.
Yeah, it's the light emanating from the Lord. Just like from the sun, we have the sunshine.
Okay.
See, the sunshine provides the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Same way.
That's what I thought, that the sunshine is all pervasive everywhere. And because it has no form, and that is what is equivalent to Brahman.
Yeah, that's correct. But that's the analogy.
Yes, just 1 second. Somebody's at the door.
Sure.
Second.
No problem. So that's the analogy: sunshine, sun surface, sun planet. Any questions on this by anybody? Important to understand. All of these personalities who are aiming for Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan, they are regarded to be transcendentalists. Yes, Riyansh.
Yes, Prabhuji, I want to give another example of the three aspects of Godhead. When you see a train from far away, it looks like something has come to us. But when you see the outlook of the train, when you come to near, you will know how it looks. But when you go inside the train, then you will know that the train has many seats, and we can we can put luggages, many luggages.
And you see the train driver. Yeah, good example. That's a good example. Thank you for that. Okay, Nani Ben, are you back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just right. Yeah. Yes.
So, so the sunshine of this world remains in this world, right? It cannot extend beyond this world.
Yeah.
So, so that's why the sunshine here is limited, but it is still powerful because obviously, and its powers are partly coming from the Supreme Lord, but it's not the same as the Brahmajyoti.
It's not same. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's just an analogy. Yeah. Okay.
Analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Riyansh just had a very good example. Riyansh, say it again.
Yes, Prabhuji. When we see a train from far, it looks like something has come near us. So it's known as Brahman. But when we go near the train, we will look its outlook. looks, then that is known as Paramatma. And when we go inside the train and see that there are many seats and there is the train driver and many things, it's the example of Bhagavan.
Fabulous. Well done.
Yes.
Good example. Very good
Yes.
example. So the train from a long distance, you can't make it out.
No.
But when it comes to a station, you can tell, oh yeah, that's the train. And then you can go in and see a lot more of the aspects of. So in the same way, for Brahman, there's very little to really imagine. Paramatma, you get more realization. And when you get Bhagwan realization, you see everything. You understand everything.
And
So-
also one other thing, so I think Govind Prabhuji told us that Brahman means Sat, Paramatma means Sat Chit,
Huh.
and the Bhagwan is Sat Chit Ananda.
Ananda.
All the three.
Good. Good example.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good example. Yes. Sat is knowledge.
Yeah.
Sat is eternity.
So thank you.
And Chit is knowledge, and Ananda. Anand can only be found in Bhagavan.
And there's also the aspect of Vigraha, like a form. Satchit Ananda Vigraha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So this is the lowest stage of spiritual consciousness, because there is consciousness, but there's no spiritual body. That's one aspect, but there's no spiritual activity as well. Just like a frozen pulp is the example. The soul may stay in the Brahmajyoti for a very, very long time. Billions of lifetimes of Lord Brahma.
Oh,
And his lifespan is 311 trillion years, 40 billion years. But eventually the soul who is existing dormantly there will fall from there and take a material body in this material creation. Why? Well, actually, there's two paths. If the soul is in the Brahmajyoti, he will not be able to stay there forever. Then the reason is we're always active, right? We're always busy. We're always doing something. And in the Brahmajyoti, there's nothing to do. How much you're going to do for nothing? How long you're going to do nothing? So at some point, there's going to be frustration. So the soul can either go to the spiritual world from the Brahmajyoti or come down to the material world. But it's a really difficult thing to go to the spiritual world. Why? Because you need association of devotees. And there's not going to be any devotees in the Brahmajyoti. So you don't have association of devotees, you can't go back to the spiritual world. You're going to be falling into this world. So most likely the fall down will take place into this world. The soul will feel lonely. And generally speaking, the soul will come back to this world and he will do charity. Remember, the souls who are in the Brahmajyoti are very pure. Yeah, they're very pure. They're clean habits. They've been associating with the impersonal form of the Lord. So they're very, very powerful. So either they will go to the heavenly planets or they will come to earth and they will do amazing charity work, extraordinary charity work. Because their nature is very good. They've been in the Brahmajyoti. They were just bored. Even the Asuras, they attain Brahmajyoti. So merging is almost like you're going to be with the demons. But the souls of the demoniac souls do get purified when they're in the Brahmajyoti. They're no longer demons. The Trishuls prevent entry into Vaikuntha unless they meet devotees and then can attain Shantaras in Vaikuntha. So the best one can do if one is in a Brahmajyoti is to meet a devotee And if you're favorably disposed towards a devotee, then attain only Shantaras. Shantaras is where you're just observing the Leela of the Lord. That's it. That's the best you can do.
I was thinking, Prabhuji, that when the souls are in the Brahmajyoti, can they meet each other? Can they?
I'm not sure if they can do satsang.
No.
No, they're pretty dormant.
Pretty dormant. So when they meet the devotee, it is when they come down to this material world.
There are opportunities where the devotees will enter the Brahmajyoti. There are devotees who enter the Brahmajyoti, like Narad Muni would sometimes enter the Brahmajyoti, and he would seek out those who he feels should go back to this material, the spiritual world. But it's a rare occasion. But devotees are very, very generous, very kind. They will, if they see somebody who really deserves to be in the spiritual world, but for some reason is in the Brahmajyoti, they will go and pluck that soul out. And Narad Muni is the most famous of them who would do that.
Haribol?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, just want to, I've got my doubts. So, Brahmajyoti, is this what the Brahmakumaris
Yeah,
believe in, and they want to
that's
merge
correct.
the Brahmajyoti?
That's it. Absolutely.
And they say there's no akar. It's
Yeah.
nirakar.
No form.
Okay.
Yeah.
No form.
No form. Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Spot on.
Haribol.
Not just the Brahmajyotis.
From Kumaris. He
Brahmakumaris,
was
sorry.
Jain.
The Jain, I mean, that's even harder because they
Oh,
believe
really?
all extinguishes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that, but yeah, I know somebody who follows from my family from Brahmakumaris, so I just get confused that what are their thoughts in their heads. When we say Krishna is the supreme, and their interpretation is so different, and it makes me feel, where did they get it from? But anyway, that's...
And they meditate on the light, isn't it? What do they meditate on?
Yeah, they have a little light and they meditate. And
So
they want to merge in it.
Effectively, they want to merge.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No, that's good. Thank you for asking. Okay. The nature of the soul is activity, even in this world. So Gaudiya Vaishnavas prefer hell. So this is what the Gaudiyas think of Brahmajyoti. They prefer hell than merging with the Lord. Because as the Mayavadi has no interest in the personal form of the Lord, even the Lord has no personal interest for them. Right? This is supposed to be no in there. Has no personal interest. They have no personal interest in the Lord. The Lord has also effectively given up on them. And that's really, if the Lord gives up on us, that's really not good, because he hardly gives up on anybody. But he will give up on those who want to merge to him, so that they don't disturb others. That's the reason. Fine, you want to merge with me? Go into the Brahmajyoti. Even hell is better than the Brahmajyoti, because even in hell, at least there is a chance of purification, because the Lord will send his representatives to save the fallen soul. In the Brahmajyoti, unless you have a really lucky opportunity to meet a devotee like Narad, can't get out of there. Very difficult. Back into the spiritual world, very, very difficult.
Prabhuji, do the Gnanis follow this path?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's correct.
I wonder why, because they're supposed to be so intelligent.
Yeah, but
they follow this path of not doing anything, and rather than seeking even the bliss like Paramatma status.
Because they have no interest in the personal form of the Lord. They feel that the Lord has no form.
Okay.
Jnanis, the followers of Sankaracharya.
Yeah.
Because he propounded the Mayavadi philosophy. And he didn't want to do it but the Lord ordered him, you do it. And why does the Lord order him? Because there are people, and this is the whole point. The Lord doesn't want the innocent souls to be distracted from the real purpose of life. Yeah. So the Mayavadis, they will end up in this Brahmajyoti. And that's a really, really horrible place to be, where even God has given up on us, on them, you know. Not a good place to be. And we want to be here, having personal relationships with the Supreme Lord. This is, you know, cannot imagine where you would not consider the Lord to be a person, the most supreme person. You're not limiting him by him being a person, but he's got such a personality, happy, funny, loving. Why would you attribute no personality to this amazing Supreme Lord? It's very difficult to understand for us, but that's the way a lot of spiritualism is directed in that direction. In India, probably, I don't know, 75% of people believe God has no form. The devotees are far and few between. Even amongst those who go to the temple, they will simply see the idol, or the deity, sorry, as an idol, as just a material object. This is just, God has taken a material form, and he dies and goes back to the spiritual world when he leaves this world. But we know as Gaudiya Vaishnavas that God always has a spiritual form, even in this world. He doesn't ever take a material form. But the Mayavadis believe that this world is illusion. On the other hand, the Vaishnavas believe this world is temporary. It's not illusion. This world is real. The material world is real, but it's temporary. It doesn't last forever. That's the point. But the Mayavadis will say everything is illusion, even God is illusion. When he comes to this world, he's just illusion. And therefore they attribute no form to the Lord. So, any questions, Naniben? Anything?
No, one second. Somebody said the door again. Sorry. No more questions. Carry on, Prabhuji.
No problem. Anybody else? Kamakshi, anything else that you wanted to?
I would like to, but it might sound really silly. And you might
No,
think,
don't worry. There's nothing. No.
sometimes, you know, when this sort of situation, when the Brahmajyoti and people believe in that, and Sankaracharya's followers and all that,
Yeah.
I sometimes feel, and I suspect, is Krishna deliberately putting them in this situation, or is it just their karma that they are blocked not to recognize Krishna's form?
Yeah, it's a good question. See, this is like the final snare of Maya to become God. And it's the ultimate envy. I want to become God. And Krishna he wouldn't want them to be in that position, isn't it? But
yeah, it's the desire.
It's their desire. And Krishna will fulfill that desire, and he'll shove them into the Brahmajyoti so that they're out of the way.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to twist it again. So is this Krishna's play in it to say, setting these examples when people are the way they are just said, and the way you said it about desires and all that. So is there Krishna's hand in here?
No, it's our desire. Ultimately, it's our desire. So Krishna won't influence our desire.
Okay.
He'll give us that little freedom of choice. You can desire anything you want. I will fulfill it.
Okay, so the freedom, we have to make the most of it and not spoil waylaid.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a bit like Krishna facilitates to fulfill our desire. It doesn't mean that he's deliberately scheming against us.
Yeah.
Krishna is not scheming, you know. He allows it freely. Just because the government has to create a prison house doesn't mean the government, government is deliberately scheming against the citizens to put them in the prison. It's that the prison is there. Yeah, it's your choice. You chose to go there. So
yeah,
like
makes
that.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then also, I was having a chat with devotee Prabhupada's disciple.
Last Saturday.
Only last Saturday, I just happened to again chat. I've never met him before. His name is Ramnath. He lives in North London for the last 4 years. But he's done a lot of service in Sweden and Stockholm and other places. So he's trying to sort of, trying to find a way of preaching. He said, I found that there are some areas where, like Hindu and us devotees, we will not try to explain and accept that, Lord Shiva's position. We should preach to those who are followers of Lord Shiva, but they don't understand it through the eyes of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada. And we have understood that. Also in the same way, like the Sikhs, they just look upon Guru, but Prabhupada always wanted to encourage the Sikhs to understand the real aspect of Guru and Sanatana Dharma and the position and the Vedic Shastras and all that. But because we see that we kind of create boundaries around these people and say, but as devotees, we should not create boundaries like that, but just maybe we need to explain a little bit more clearly if we want.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, maybe that's the point. But anyway, thank you.
It's like we opening this center, and one of the issues was, should we have the deity of Shiv Parvati? And I'm happy to have that deity, because one thing is, so many Hindus follow Shiva and Parvati.
Yeah.
Don't have them, we're going to exclude a whole chunk of the community. The second thing is, yes, they may come in the mood of worshipping them as a supreme or whatever, but we have actually the opportunity to perhaps be able to engage them or educate them, or that's a bit arrogant, not necessarily educate, inform them. Yeah, that's better.
Clarify rather than,
or clarify.
Make them understand the true position of Lord Shiva and in its proper context, put things in proper context.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what I would say.
Because I think they I haven't come across the way we have in ISKCON, how the position of Lord Shiva. I think they have just followed the way they have followed from generation to generation. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if ISKCON can throw some light on it and then make them realize, yes, Shiva's got his own position, but you can't say he's the supreme instead of Krishna.
But then also, we have to be a bit cautious on that, because as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, people of
small intelligence,
knowledge, they will worship the demigods. And those who have little faith, you do not need to go and disturb them too much.
Yeah. That's why
they're on their path because it's their learning, it's their, it doesn't give us the right to kind of
disturb them,
impose on them so much. But when they're ready, then we explain. Yeah,
that's right. And that's why, I was thinking we'd put down, this is Shiva and Parvati, they're devotees of the Lord. But I thought, no. You know what? Let's not cause unnecessary tension to anybody. If somebody worships him as the Supreme Lord, let them carry on. But there's Krishna there as well, there's Ram there as well, and they'll pay their obeisances there. So they will get some punya karma from that anyway. And in time, we may have the opportunity to, give them the necessary information to help.
And within the history, even Lord Shiva has had to clarify his own position at times. To his own followers. So we can't. override sometimes certain positions. So we don't know. Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably get criticized by many devotees that, oh, they're worshipping Shiva and Parvati. Let them criticize. We know the situation. We know what we are doing. At the end of the day, we don't want to exclude anybody from coming and taking part in the activity.
Yeah, like we say, it's this question of if they do want to have a clear understanding, then we can expand on that, elaborate on them, and just keep on describing and elaborating on Srimad Bhagavatam and how that Bhagavatam, keep pointing them in the direction of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and ultimately they will realize and understand, like we all did, I think. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, can I add something?
Oh, yes, Karuna.
Yes, when Guru Maharaj was coming to Mauritius, so at that time, the devotees in ISKCON, they were telling us not to go and pray in temples in Shivalayas, where we have the demigods, deities. So then Guru Maharaj told us all that we should pay obeisances to these demigods and offer obeisances. So when he was going to preach in the temples, he would ask all the devotees of ISKCON to go and pay obeisances in front of all the deities, and then he would start his lecture. He would also go and pay obeisances everywhere. So it's just, he was teaching us that they are demigods. We can't criticize, or we can't disrespect them. We have to pay obeisances. We have to be respectful because they are in above another position, and we are nothing.
That's good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Also,
Guru Maharaj had a very broad-minded attitude.
Yes, very much.
Also, Prabhuji.
Yes, Nalini.
In most temples, there are usually lots of gods there, including Shiva, Krishna, Radha, Radharaniji, Ram, some Sai Baba. Like if you go to the Jalaram temple.
That's right.
All this, but you have to pay obeisances to everybody, but believe in what you want to believe in, isn't it?
Correct.
So there's no harm in keeping them. There's absolutely no harm.
Yeah, correct.
Unless we are ISKCON, which is only for the Krishna and they don't want Shiva there. That's a different story. But usually, most temples have other gods in there as well.
Yeah. I mean, what we're doing, the reason we are keeping Lord Shiva and Parvati is we love them anyway.
Yes.
Those souls who everybody else has rejected, Lord Shiva gives them shelter.
Oh.
Now, what a sort of personality is that? He's amazing. He's amazing. So why would we want to exclude some amazing person like that? And we do understand, of course, he's not supreme, but he's so closely connected to the Supreme. Even the Supreme worships him. As Ram, he worshipped Lord Shiva in order to defeat Ravan. So we're not saying to anybody, come and worship Shiva. If you want to worship Shiva and you have the faith, please feel free. But what we do want to do is have the opportunity to inform people that actually who is supreme, who is the devotee, and how the devotee relates with the Supreme. And at least we have the opportunity, if that deity is there, if the people come. Because if you don't have Shiva in there, many devotees will not even come. So at least they're coming and they'll pay obeisances to Radha Krishna, Sitaram, Gaur-Nitai. So I don't see any harm. In fact, I see only we try to unite the Hindu community, which is quite a job, even if we unite a little bit of it, it'll be something.
I think when Prabhupada had to go and preach in the West, he had to make it very clear, first of all, Krishna's position. And then otherwise his followers would have just discipled and they would get too confused with Lord Shiva and all these different worships, is that. So once he's established Krishna as a supreme, in time, they will all gradually start to understand the position of Lord Shiva, other demigods and all that. And this is what this Prabhu, when I met, Ramnath was trying to explain. He said, this is how we started to understand the other broader aspect of Sanatana Dharma.
Right.
And now we also understand the position of the gurus in the Sikh, why they had to take up the position of gurus the way they had to, because they were constantly being attacked, and Sanatana Dharma was always under threat.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada always wanted the Sikh community to be embraced and understand. But when it's with time, then, through ignorance and politics, for different reasons, people take up position of power and all that and try to alienate and think we are special now. So that creates problem, but that's because of misunderstanding,
Yeah.
And, everything is open to manipulation. So it's left to be very careful. And we're lucky that, this Prabhupada spearheaded, if you point to the arrow point of the arrow is Krishna, it's the sharp point. Everything else follows after that, the arrow. So that's why Prabhupada had to come. So in time, understanding will come. But even like Lord Chaitanya, when he was asking Ramananda Roy, he said, first of all, explain. Then he explained the Varnashram system. He said, no, something higher than that, So till we come through the eyes of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, also, it's very difficult, because even in Bharat, not many people know about Lord Chaitanya still. But still, only through Lord Chaitanya that we understand is Achintya Bheda Tattva, that philosophy. So everything becomes clearer, with that proper understanding. Yeah.
And the challenges we had to introduce Gaunitai into our temple. If you recall, people were up in arms. Hey, who is this Gaunitai? It's an ISKCON thing.
Yeah, well, even now, many may not be able to relate to Lord.
They won't, because
even in
they've
Gujarat,
never heard of him.
Even in Gujarat, with the Vallabhacharya followers, Pusti Marg, they've alienated themselves, thinking they've disconnected themselves from Lord Chaitanya, but his Vallabhacharya is still important.
Yeah.
And they're confused now. They think Mahaprabhu is Vallabhacharya is the same as Lord Chaitanya. So sometimes I used to get in conversation with them, and they say, Mahaprabhu. But I said, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is different. But which Mahaprabhu are you referring to? Then they say, well, Vallabhacharya. But then Vallabhacharya, his preaching and potency is there within even near Govardhan. Temples there, and
that's right.
Sons like Surdas and many of them were through that Pushti Marg Sampradaya. There are so many branches where Krishna consciousness and the element of is there. I mean, only yesterday I found out, talking to someone, that my father was born, and I never knew this. My father was born in a place called Shingra. And Shingra is near Dwarka, not far from Dwarka. And there is an identical temple, very, very as big as Dwarka in Shingra. But that's supposed to be where Lord Krishna rested for a bit. That's why it's called Vishram Ghat. So there's a Vishram Ghat. Then he went on to Dwarka from there. So my father was born in that place, and I never knew about that. And then the person who built that temple about 100 or so many years ago, he instigated the preaching of that aspect of Krishna. Because Gujarat side, Dwarka and all this sort of Vasudeva Kutum, in a big way. There's that following, even Ranchor and all that pastimes come. So this particular place where this sadhu who preached, and he was a pure Vaishnava, he said, if you go to that temple even now, he said, you'll see that he was doing samadhi, he was deep in meditation. And at the same time, these community, Khoja, Muslim communities came and beheaded him straight away while he was in meditation.
Wow.
And to this day, that blood stains and all that are still there. You just cannot get rid of them. And all that. And I said, well, really? This is where this person I was talking to is from that same town, Shingra. That's how I got into conversation with him. He said, you're from Shingra? I said, my father was born there. He said, yeah, I know. We're all, there's a temple there, and it's Lord Krishna's land. He rested there. And this is what happened. And he said, to this day, there is a sort of a story or myth or something that, that saintly person hangs around in that temple as a snake. Always.
Right.
I don't know how to. It's just interesting. I might have to go and visit Shingra now.
Check out the snake. Not a good idea.
Okay.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So much
Anybody
history, so much, we're all connected with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why my previous generations, my father and my grandmother, they were all Vaishnava followers of Krishna.
That's really good. Really good.
But Prabhupada is helped by Hare Bol.
No, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we can go to the Nrsimha Kavach. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki jai.